So the session is actually going to be in English and Dutch, because feel free to answer in Dutch, but we have some English speakers. So first of all, it is a pleasure. I mean, we were quite surprised. We have a full house, so welcome, and I'm very happy to see all of you. We have a very distinguished panel today, and it is an honor and a privilege to actually be the moderator for the event. There's a lot happening. I will keep my introduction quite short and sweet because, it's Friday and the drinks are probably one of the things you came for as well, right? Okay, so we have our keynote speaker, Mr. Annand Jagesar, who has been working for Staatsolie for quite some time now. He has a very impressive resume, which I will not read out to you. It was long, but we're very happy that he's here for the keynote. Next to him, we have the managing director for the Marriott Group, which is Mr. Egon van Foidl, who is an international hotelier with years of experience internationally. And we're very happy to have him and share his vision on the developments and the future of Suriname, especially from the point of view from hospitality. Then we have Ms. Wonnie Boedhoe, also a very impressive career, impressive track record from public sector to consultant and helping agribusinesses. And she will shed some light also on local content. And last but not least, we have the Managing Director, Brian Sloote, who is an expert for over 13 years in business process outsourcing, which is another sector which we thought would be very interesting to highlight considering the future developments for Suriname. Having said that, this is our distinguished panel. I'd like to give them a warm applause. Thank you for being here, and we will pass the mic now to our keynote speaker, Mr. Jagesar.
Yes, good evening, and a warm welcome also on behalf of Staatsolie. I'm presenting, of course, on behalf of Staatsolie. And it will be interactive after the presentation, so I hope we can have a good discussion. But because, as a matter of fact, I'm going to try to blame you for the problems in the country. Okay? I'll explain that. That's the first one, yes. So we'll look at Suriname and the future, and then thereafter we'll have a summary because I only have 15 to 20 minutes. Good? So there is a unique chance to make it right or wrong. And that chance that gives ample opportunities for employees and employers, so you can see that there. And it can bring Staatsolie to a developed status, like in Singapore. I was there recently, and it's one of the most developed countries in the world, whilst the neighbors also tried and did not succeed. So it can be done if you have the right systems. And it's a chance that will take care that the living environment and conditions of the Surinamese people will dramatically improve. A lot of money will flow in, and you have to be very good not to make it go right in Suriname. But there is also, of course, a chance that poor governance and leniency will result in. I took out the ramp in to disaster, but will lead to problems because we have examples. Venezuela is an example, Nigeria is an example. Venezuela, you guys are too young to know that, but in the 70s of the previous century, it was the darling of South America. It was the place to go in South America. Very rich, very modern, because of oil. And because of that same oil, it's probably the poorest and most destructive nation in South America. So it can happen if you don't manage it well. The only thing you have to do is don't manage it well. And I'm going to give you a hint because we are standing at the sideline and letting the governments that we have been having and have do their things. So apparently that is not good enough. And I'm not saying you have to vote right, you have to get involved. Because the same thing in Singapore, Lachman, he said, listen, I'm not going to run the government with people that don't have education, don't have managerial skills. I'm going to run it with the right people, and I'm going to pay them well. I'm going to pay them well. And he explained that to the population. Because if you don't pay them well, if I don't pay you guys well, you will not come to work for anybody. So we have to take it. So it's a double edge, but let me not go too deep into that one. And then, of course, the chance is driven by the 700 million barrels in the offshore, 200,000 barrels of production. If you compare, currently we're producing 17,000, and every year we contribute like $350 million to the government. So you can understand here where we are in the driver's seat, how much money will come in. At the peak years, it will be like 3 billion a year, which is the current GDP is 3.6 billion. So it's huge, doubling. I mean, people organize parties if they have a 5% economic growth. These things will give like 90, 60, 50% growth. So very important. Okay, and then I'm gonna keep this brief. The red one here is in Guyana, is the growth of the economy, a very tame inflation, and we have the opposite, very hostile and volatile inflation and low growth. But you can understand why did this happen is because of the oil. So that same thing will happen to us. So, you know, that's the explanation of it will come and we have to manage it. Okay, this is the picture. I will not go into details. I stole it from my colleague here. Very busy. So there is a lot going on in the offshore, and Staatsolie is trying to put as many blocks as possible under contract. But of course, the hot action is here in block 58, where Total is going to do the first development. And there is good news because Petronas has also discovered oil in 52, and they just did a gas test, which was above expectations. So that is going to be a next development as well. So probably we have development number 2 and 3 already. So it's the same path as Guyana. And here at the right side, you can see how many exploration wells will be drilled. Exploration wells lead to discovery or failure. Not always discoveries, but it gives a chance to find new research in other places than in, they call this the golden lane. Okay, so I'm gonna skip this one fast. And then, how does Suriname make money? I think this is very important because people think that only through the participation of Staatsolie for 20%, we make money. But that's not the case. We make money especially through the regulator. That role is also within Staatsolie. And the regulator, on behalf of the government, negotiated the contracts, and on behalf of the government, will receive 6.25% of royalties. That's one. Then there is profit oil, Winsolie, that will be split between the government and the contractor parties. There is a certain formula for that. I will not bother you. But in the long term, it will be between 40 to 60% of a split. And then, it was in the news, we have very high tax rate, corporate tax rate, 36%. The contractors will have to pay to the government 36% on their net profit. So all this money will go to the regulator, and then on top of that, Staatsolie can also earn money in an additional role as a commercial company, 20%. And you know, Staatsolie pays dividend to the government, so instead, if APA receives dividend, it will go abroad. If Staatsolie receives it, it will go to the government, and Staatsolie will reinvest in Suriname. So that's a double advantage. Okay, so this is a barrel. We'll take the top off. And then this is the way it's distributed. I just explained, so I will not stay long here. The cost oil is gone, so you can see the cost was here. So they recoup the cost. And then the profit oil will go to all the parties. Like I explained, 40 to 60% will go to the government. Staatsolie will receive its share for participating, and Apache and Total Energy will also receive their share. And then the parties will have to pay taxes to the government. So you can see the government is making a lot of money. We'll stick to this number from the net income over a period of 20 years. The government will get like 60 to 70% of that. And it tabulates to 16 to 26 million. Now we have negotiated the area of development, and we have seen that it will be more than 26 million because they have huge opportunities for tiebacks. So they can keep the production on 200,000 barrels for longer than initially thought. So Suriname will make even more from one first development. Okay? And then, you know, employment, and this is a little bit difficult one, but I'm going to explain it. So in the middle, you have the specialist services. And those will probably not come from Suriname. I mean, the FPSO, that ship, that production ship, will not be able to build it in Suriname. Never. Sorry, never will be able to build it. So that is in the middle. You can see it here, FPSO. But then Suriname is quite advanced because some of these services can come from Suriname. And from the outer layer, of course, all can come from Suriname because those are the general services that we do. I will not go into the details. This thing is on our website. You can look into it. But I'm going to brag about some Surinamese companies. And that is, I can call names, Kooldiepsinghaven. All the last 7 to 9 wells were drilled from Kooldiepsinghaven. Shell drilled a well from there, and they ranked it as one of their best serviced well. First time in Suriname, Shell. And the Minister of Energy of Trinidad, he always tells me how good SDSM is, because all their marine ships come to SDSM. Then I thought, okay, it's okay. Then the French ambassador told me, all our marine ships go to SDSM as well. So there are a lot of good centers of excellence. And we have the right attitude in some places where we already do the business. Because in this branch, if you're at a party at Saturday evening, like now we are here, and somebody phones you that a machine is broken in this operation, you have to go away. Because it costs a lot of money if they stop the operations. Like our refinery, if we stop it one day, it costs like 200 to 300,000 US dollars. So we cannot stop it. So you have to have another mindset of operations. It's not like, okay, Monday we'll see. And Monday we'll tell the people, the workers did not come, so we cannot deliver food today. And we know these things from Suriname, so it's not completely strange. Okay, so here is a detailed list of all these things, direct examples and indirect examples. And in Guyana, for instance, you cannot buy a piece of land anymore in Georgetown. It's so expensive. So this is the resource curse at work. Because the Guyanese are pushed out of Georgetown. Because everything is getting expensive, expats are coming in, they can pay the money. I don't know if you recently went to Guyana. A hotel room sometimes goes to 600 US dollars a night. Yes, 600 US dollars a night. That same room in Suriname is 120, Egon? 150. One fourth of the price. And then the spin-off will be very important because if you go to Guyana, they have built like 8 new hotels. They're building hospitals. They made a east-west 4-lane corridor. So a lot of stuff is happening and a lot of workers are needed. So the spin-off is great. And the hospitality, I know Mr. Leufden used to do the hospitality training. I think we have to really go into that because it's going to be big. The direct employment in the oil and gas is not that great. So on this production platform, take a guess. How many people work there? 200, yeah, 160. So on that production platform, only 160 people. So that's it, and the spin-off is huge. And then local content, yeah, it's really happening. So this is the Kuldeep Singh port. They're lifting pipes, checking it before it goes to the offshore. Proud people that worked on the drilling rig. This is the barge that brings all the material to the rigs and the production platform. Kirsten has is operating a HSE training center. So this is it's like a helicopter. They throw you in the water and then you have to get out, because if you want to go to the offshore, you have to have this certificate. It's not only that, you get the whole training. And then this is a mud plant at the Kuldeep Singh port. So it's really happening and a lot of money coming in. The 5 wells that Total drilled yielded 90 million of local spending. 90 million US dollars. So I dare to ask the tax guy people if they notice any difference. So I don't know. The answer was not clear. And then we fought with Total to publish their tenders because they said, listen, this thing will not be able to do it out of Suriname, so why would we publish it? So we said, yeah, to show the Surinamese people, to see whether it's possible that they could team up with somebody else from the outside and then do it. So now they're publishing it, and you can see here concrete things, housing here, not a very difficult one. 8 to 10 bedroom employee staff housing facility. It is on our website. So if you register on our website, you can get it. You get access to it. Okay? So this is huge. And you can see this is a short period, July 20 to August 9th. A lot of tenders that can be done from Suriname. Okay, then I think my time is up. Yeah, we are at the eve of great things. So whilst we are fighting poverty in Suriname, we'll have to fight now richness, so great income, and it's a whole other approach. So I don't know if I dare to say this here. So we have to prevent that within 2 years, the president has a private jet. And builds a quadruple tower government building that is not really suited, but it's very nice. So this is managing wealth. It will be another game. So it's easy. Money comes in, you can do whatever you want, but we have to manage it well. Of course, the sovereign welfare fund is in between, but rules and laws that the people make, that the parliament makes, can be broken as well. So I mean, it's not watertight. En dan, in Dutch, we sukkelen op zijn zacht gezegd vanaf we onafhankelijk zijn. Echt, ik bedoel, we kunnen het ontkennen, toch? We kunnen het ontkennen. En ik betrap me erop, ik hou ook niet echt als een Nederlander recht voor zijn raap is. Maar ik betrap me wel erop dat ik denk, oké, dat ding draaide goed toen die Nederlanders er waren. Onze proeftuinen in Suriname. Wanneer draaiden ze goed? Toen die Nederlanders er waren. SML, wanneer draaide het goed? Toen die Nederlanders er waren. En dat is Staatsolie, vertrouwen in eigen kunnen. Wij willen laten zien, we want to show the world that with confidence in our own ability, we can do stuff. Today we had the bankers of Bladex, it's Panama bank, and they were so professional. So I told them, I'm just excited to do some Latin, so we can show the world that if Latin people work together, they can have success. It doesn't have to be a mess every time. And we have to show in Suriname that we don't make a mess. We're not very good at things. I mean, I don't want to brag for Staatsolie, but Staatsolie apart, it's difficult. I know new NV Havenbeheer does annual reports, but then a lot don't do it and are not certified. So that's one of the key elements of doing well. And then the third is very critical, or criticizing. So if we govern and we think that we have to make some money, and then when we have been a minister or in the government, that if we're not anymore in the government, that we never should be poor again. I mean, that's not the right attitude. And that's not the right attitude. I mean, if you pay a minister $400 a month in the government, he can either say, okay, I'm retired, so I can afford to do this, or I want to be like the guy from Paraguay driving his Beetle, or he's going to say, okay, $400, so how can I make that 6,000 or 10,000? And then he will do stuff that we don't like. And that's the leak one thing. So he said, no, I'm going to pay the guys well, but I'm going to ask them to perform well. So you can see here things, monetair financieren, monetary financing, excessive borrowing. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. Subsidizing, these things don't work. All developed economies don't subsidize objects. Holland does subjects, they do it. It costs a lot of money. It costs the resource curse there as well, when they had the Groningen gas field. So here I have a list, good government with people that are not thinking of themselves, onbaatzuchtig. And all institutes need to be strengthened. Rekenkamer, KLAD, NIMOS, Belastingdienst, etc., etc. Ze zijn een beetje uitgehold. Er is een nieuwe mode ontstaan om alles bij het kabinet van de president. En het is niet alleen van deze regering. Het is van vorige regeringen ook. Alles wordt bij het kabinet van president bepaald. Maar een Superman. Als ik bij Staatsolie zou zitten en alles bepalen. We hebben directeuren, we hebben managers, die hebben zoveel autonomie. En zo werkt het. Spinoff control 7, punt. Je kan niet meer. Werkt niet. Systemen opzetten en aanpassen om resource curse te bestrijden. In Guyana ook. Eten en drinken wordt duur, want het gaat allemaal in die hospitality-industrie daar. Waardoor de Guyanees nog meer moet betalen voor eten en drinken. Een Guyanees kan ook geen huis meer huren in Georgetown. Kost minimaal $800 per maand. Dus dat is de resource curse. En we moeten die proeftuinen kom ik dan weer op, toch? Want als die proeftuinen goed werken, dan kan je iedereen zeggen, kom kijken hoe je het taartblad goed plant. Ik heb een nieuwe variëteit, dus je variëteit werkt niet meer, ik heb een nieuwe. SML, nummer 1 in de wereld met rijstvariëteiten. Nu misschien nummer laatst. Dus ja, we moeten echt serieus aan die dingen gaan werken. En we moeten investeren, of course, in duurzame sectoren. Ook wij, Staatsolie, zijn daar bang voor. Omdat er gaat een dag komen, als jullie rijk zijn, want nu zeggen jullie, het maakt me niet uit. Als die gasoline en diesel maar goedkoop is. Maar als je genoeg geld hebt, dan ga je nu andere redeneringen opzetten. Ja, maar kan het niet schoner? Toch? Ik ben bereid om iets meer te betalen voor een elektrisch voertuig. En waarom blijft Staatsolie maar doorgaan? Dus wij letten er ook op. We moeten ook schoner worden. Dus dat gaat er komen en ik hoop dat veel van dat geld in de duurzame sectoren gaat. Landbouw is daar een van. Toerisme. We zijn gewoon uniek met de verschillende culturen en de cuisine. Als mensen hier in Suriname eten, ze vinden het geweldig. Een Amerikaan heeft me een keer verteld, jarang kepang gezien Hij raakt er nooit uitgesproken over. Gewoon geweldig. En daar maken we te weinig gebruik van. En natuurlijk, een van de belangrijke dingen is het Soeverein Welvaarts- en Stabilisatiefonds. Dat gaat bepalen dat een groot deel van die inkomsten in dat fonds gaan. En men is nu bezig met fiscal rules. Dus daar heb je een primary balance surplus, gross financing need, debt to GDP ratio. Die bepalen hoeveel de overheid mag uitgeven. En de IDB wil met name stimuleren dat de non-mineral sectoren zich gaan ontwikkelen. Want mineral is, ik heb het in Angola gezien, ze waren op 1,8 miljoen barrels per dag. En ineens dropt die productie naar 1,1. En het gaat valikant mis, want de economie was ingesteld op 1,8. En je moet niet denken aan een prijs, hè? Want als een prijs 80 is en hij gaat naar 60, je verliest zoveel geld. En als je economie is ingesteld op die 80, je bent bankroet. Je kan niks meer veranderen in die economie. Iedereen loopt te klagen en het gaat niet meer. Dus dat soort zaken moeten we heel goed aanpakken. En eigenlijk is dit de vraag. Als je iets doet voor Suriname, moet je je altijd vragen of het goed is voor Suriname en niet of het goed is voor je zak. Of voor mijn zak. En die mentaliteit, en ik praat er heel makkelijk over. Want ik zeg ook altijd, als je een douanier $400 per maand betaalt en je laat hem elke dag een container van $1 miljoen controleren, dan vraag je eigenlijk zelf aan problemen. En dan kom ik weer op Lachman. Lachman zegt, nee, ik ga hem goed betalen, maar ik ga zijn M breken als hij steelt. Dank u wel.
Thank you very much, Annand. Egon, the floor is yours. You want to stand up?
Sure. No problem. Good evening. It's an honor to be here. Annand brings the oil up, and we have to provide the service that they can bring the oil up, right? So I'm going to talk a bit about the hospitality business, the services that are required, infrastructure that is needed. So in a nutshell, at the present time, the country has around 900 hotel rooms, what is very, very little, right? So from our point as an independent hotel management company, you know, we manage the Courtyard. April 2nd, 25, we're going to open the Radisson, what is the former Krasnopolski. That will add on 126 rooms, ballroom. We're going to revive Rumors, because Rumors seemingly was very, very popular. So when we did the space planning, we said, let's go and bring Rumors back. So we will have that. On the third floor, we will have a Peruvian restaurant. So it will be the first Peruvian restaurant. The Peruvian chef just arrived a week ago, so we are working with him now to get this done. That is in April 25. Then by around September, October, we're opening the new Marriott on Anton Trachtenweg, this strange building that you see there, the white building. We are converting that now into a 5-star Marriott. So we're adding on 168 rooms there. Gonna be luxury all the way. So it's gonna be great. Top floor, we'll have a 2,400 square foot presidential suite with private lounge and so on, so we can really cater to dignitaries and people who come from the oil and gas sector. So we're adding on with our 2 properties. Yeah, it's good. With the 2 properties, we add on around 300 hotel rooms. Then to Rarica, if you know, they are building 117 junior suites. So that goes on to the inventory. So we're going to end up with around 1,400 rooms in the country. So one of my things that I have is I try to go and tell investors to come to the country and invest in the hotel business, because we need more hotel rooms. 1,400 hotel rooms will not be enough to service the industry. Focusing at 228, if we're looking at that as being one of the dates that seemingly it really starts to happen, right? So if you have colleagues, if you have contacts of people who might be interested, please tell them to come and talk to me. I gladly show them what we are doing. I show them what figures they are, what potential revenue they can make, and we can tell them what the construction costs are. We can show them all that. So that's the positive side that we're working on. Logically, there's challenges, right? The biggest challenge we have, and that's the complaint I hear every single day, is how do I get from America to Suriname proper? People complain about not having direct flights, and this is absolutely crucial. So that has to be addressed on the government level with SLM or American companies like American Airlines or others. So that is an issue. Visa, another issue. We have to go and revise that whole thing. It has to be easy for these people to come to this country. I had an executive from Radisson a weekend ago call me up and saying, I'm at the airport in Chile. They don't let me on the plane. I said, why not? She said, oh, I don't have the receipt for my $30. So she couldn't get on the plane. So we had to reschedule her to come. So we get complaints about visa issues all the time. So that's something that needs to be addressed. So when people book in a foreign country, the travel agent in that country doesn't know that they're going to have to come with a yellow fever card. They don't know that they have to come with a receipt that they paid actually for the visa. So there's all these little things that are very important because people are just fed up with saying, you know, to come to the country, it's a pain in the butt. Then the biggest problem we logically have, and I think Annand addressed it too, is labor, right? By opening the 2 properties in 25, I need 400 employees. I need 80 chefs. Where do I find them in Suriname? You know, I go to the college, I talk to the guys in the college, I tell them about what the potential is, I tell them how much money they can make, but we have a serious problem. So I had a meeting 2 weeks ago, I had a meeting with the Minister of Labor. I said, okay, man, sit down. We have a problem. And it's not only in the hospitality sector. I hear it from the accounting sector. I hear it from a broad variety of industries. So that has to be addressed too. So I think if we want to go and shine in 228, we have 4 years to get our proverbial SS together, and then we're going to be a great country. From a tourism point of view, of course, a lot of these people want to go and see what Suriname is all about. I took this lady from Radisson and I showed her a little bit the river and all that, and she was totally amazed. She's from Santiago de Chile, had no idea how beautiful the country actually is. So we have to go, and Karen, you know, we have to go and promote the country. We have to go and make tourism also a priority. It is not only natural resources. You have an amazing, beautiful, beautiful country, and you do nothing with it, particularly when it comes to tourism. You know, we rely on Dutch people and hope that they come. What about Americans? Why don't we go to trade shows in the US? Why don't we go and work on the lift from the US? And on. And these are not major things. I mean, they don't cost money. I mean, this is just an attitude where you have to go and say, we're going to make it happen. So that's really in a nutshell, I think, from the hospitality point of view. I mean, will there be off-spin for restaurants? Of course. So restaurant operators, if there's anybody around here, you know, sharpen up your menu, go away a little bit from only having Surinamese food and do a little bit more international food. I mean, these are the kind of things that need to be done. So I think the potential is awesome. I think if we all work towards a common denominator, be positive, work together, share thoughts together, share knowledge together, I think we can do an awesome job. Thank you very, very much.
Okay, thank you. I'm an economist, so I'm going to look at the local economy. And of course, what my policymakers are doing. Because when we talk about oil and gas, the only thing they think and they talk about is the money. How much will we get? When will it flow in? Nobody talks about what will we do about it. It's only how much and when. So in my vision, we are short vision, and we don't think in terms of an integral development, for example, disaster management. Allianz recently. The urgent need for food and lost home contents is high priority. But what about the support to set up the agribusinesses again? What about recovery of the damaged soil? Because it's salted water that came in. Nobody talks about that. I hope that what happened in Mangkoeredjo will not be repeated. An agri-entrepreneur in Mangkoeredjo who had an external audit of his agribusiness just 2 months before the water spill was audited for $207,000 US. The only compensation he got was from Staatsolie, $3,000 US. Nothing from the government. Now he's frustrated because he still cannot set up his agribusiness. Tonight I will focus on 3 items. First is the Sovereign Wealth Fund. Amendments in the acts are needed. First, because of the forecast made at the time of establishment are outdated now. Second, because revenues are pledged while restructuring the sovereign debt with Oppenheimer. This should have never been the case, but it is negotiated. So in my opinion, in the amendment, it must be stated implicitly that this can only happen for one time. We don't have to repeat this. If we're going to use the Sovereign Wealth Fund to recover our debt, then we will be borrowing to hell. And we know what that will be meaning for Suriname. So, also not for the current rumor of the Oppenheimer loan, even it is for not for the government directly, but for a state-owned company. Future amendments must be approved by the majority in the National Assembly, 2/3 majority. This means that we amend not only the Sovereign Wealth Fund Act, but also the Constitution. Why do we say that? Why do I say that? Because we already experienced what happened to our Sovereign Debt Act. Staatsolie replaced the nuts in the oil fields with modern technology. But it seems like we all got them in the National Assembly. That is something that may not be good. Transparency and accountability rules must be included in the Act. Other comments like, why save if there is need for social support? It doesn't make sense. Even the comments like, all assets of the funds must be invested in Suriname only is, in my opinion, a non-discussion. How big is our absorption capacity of the economy at this moment? How many investment can we absorb in the coming 5 to 30 years? We never budgeted this. We don't talk about long-term development. In terms of social security, we consumed 100% of all windfall gains we had from mining, bauxite, oil, gold, even though we didn't manage to set up a good, accountable, transparent, and efficient subject subsidy system. It's a matter of good governance and not a matter of money. Up till now, nobody, neither policymakers nor Staatsolie management, is willing to share the amendments which are being prepared for the Sovereign Wealth Fund Act. This lack of transparency makes me feel like something fishy is going on. Okay, it's my opinion. Should it be a saving fund, a stabilization fund, a strategic investment fund, or a hybrid one? Just become a member of the International Forum of Sovereign Wealth Funds and get technical assistance. Why reinventing the wheel? The second thing I like to talk about is the local content. Not the local content that Annand talked about what Kuldeep Singh is doing and all those other things, but the local content policy. It's a drama on its own. It seems like, in this case, we are eager to reinvent the wheel. If we talk about local content, we only talk about grants to small and medium enterprises. Everybody knows that the current way of working doesn't deliver. And in the most cases, it's the ego that talks, which means it will never deliver. But while we are arguing, we are letting the horse die. We can learn from our Western neighbors, pick the positive rules, the lessons learned, and compose ours. The third thing I like to stress is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship policy is a lot more than establishing government credit funds. It seems like ministers are competing in establishing funds for SMEs and organizing training for SMEs. Almost all ministries have an SME department or a training program for SMEs. What are the output of all these trainings? Nobody cares because they are making money with the trainings. The complete cycle of support for entrepreneurship must include support funds like credit guarantee, agri-insurance, technical assistance, holding the hand of the starter until it is ready to move on its own. Starters funds, participation funds, venture capital funds, strategic policy for research and development funding, financial inclusion, not restricted to opening a bank account only, but also financial administration like in current programs we have, they are advising QuickBooks to micro-enterprises. My God. A micro-enterprise can do total financial administration in an Excel file. Why buying the expensive QuickBooks? They don't understand it. They got it on their computer and they're not going to use it anymore. Second, financial management, bookkeeping, generating profit and loss, paying taxes, and so on. And the urgently needed digital payment system and virtual asset management. In short, the whole area of fintech. It's not a dirty word. It's the future. I hope that from now, we stop discussions on how much will we receive and when will the money flow in. Starting today, the focus must be what will we do with all that money? Consuming it or using it for development? Let's start today. Investing in skills development, formal education, and also TVET. We don't have to import all those. It's only a small part of experts that is needed from abroad. It's not only oil and gas, but also the supporting industries, the accounting area. Egon talked about the hospitality area. Let's go on. All those personnel that is needed. So I say, let's start about talking what can we do with the money. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Boedhoe. Sloote.
Hello. Hello, good evening, all. Actually, I want to tell you, first of all, thank you for inviting me to be here to explain something about the BPO business. BPO business is actually, maybe it's a word that a lot of you guys don't know, but we are mainly working for contact centers. When I came to Suriname in 2011, I was like a part of a group which was one of the pioneers who was working in this business. We had around like 150, 200 people working in this business. Last year, there are around 18, 20 companies working right now in offshore contact center in Suriname. This year, we will go up to 30 companies. So this is a big sprint the last couple of years. This is due to the labor shortage, of course, in the Netherlands, and also the aging of the population in the Netherlands. And of course that we have the possibility to offer cost-effective labor. Although, of course, the oil and gas company will be the major catalyst of the coming years, I think this BPO sector is also a sector to be reckoned with. Currently, we have around 5,500 FTE working and around 6,500 seats, which can deliver production on each day. So you can imagine what the necessity will be for the coming years, especially in the labor market. And this is something which we are really worried about because we're lacking at this moment, especially at the management level, we're lacking people to fill the positions in at this moment. So this is one of the major concerns right now for the coming time. I think that Suriname has a lot of possibility to expand this business, but it's very odd actually that, for example, Suriname has, say, 650,000 people, I guess, the last time we counted, and we have only 150,000 people in the labor workforce. And Curaçao also has 150,000 people in labor force. This is something which is, I think, we need to address this because it says a lot about the opportunities and what we are lacking. Thinking of, for example, the hospitality business also, which is also searching for enough laborers to fill in the gaps. So, I think that would be a good point of discussion right now. Maybe you can pick up that about how we're going to find all these people who are going to fill in all the places and the labors which we need. Yes?
Thank you very much. I think we're gonna open up the floor briefly for some Q&A, but before we do that, I think amongst the panel, I think we have a brief discussion because there are a couple of pungent statements that have been made. Erg pittig, om het maar in het Nederlands te noemen. En ik denk dat het misschien goed is dat we ook een beetje van gedachten veranderen en dan het openstellen ook voor het publiek om vragen te stellen. My first question is actually, it's a question addressed to Annand and Wonnie as well, because I agree that, you know, it's a big challenge, right? So I made a note here. And what is the key to good governance, right? Because how do we avoid the mistakes from Venezuela and Nigeria, knowing that our public sector and institutes, you know, aren't the strongest in the region, right? So how could we help get that stronger? Because you touched on some very critical points. You know, we pay them very little. But it's like a chicken and egg, because they say they don't have money to pay them, and then we have also, I think, 60,000 or 80,000 civil servants. So where do we start? How do we change this conundrum? How can we change from where we are now and transform it into a model of good governance? Who wants to take a first stab at this?
Okay. I think it's a question of willingness, if you like to do this. Actually, the budget of the government for 2025 is being prepared now. So one of the ministers asked me to help because as one of the Jagesar participants, we talked about budgeting. And I hope that everybody knows what Jagesar is doing. We are training young people for integer leadership. So one of the civil servants was following the trainings, and she talked at the ministry and they asked. They are writing books about what is the task of the ministry. I said that is not needed in a budget. Just put the KPIs in the budget. Smart formulated KPIs. So at the end, we can see if we had results, if we have delivered. They don't know what KPIs are. Did I told you enough? That's what is going on. Institutes are broken. Annand talked about CLAT. CLAT is nothing than the internal audit of the government. And we are doing like CLAT is a fraud investigating office. CLAT is the internal one and Rekenkamer is the external one. That's how it goes in every private sector. In your company, you have an internal audit, you have an internal accountant, and on top of that, you have an external accountant. So why do we ask CLAT for all fraud investigations? The only thing is, and I already advised it to finance, just like they have what they call comptabiliteit, is a department, is the post-order department who transforms the purchase order into a payment order, something like a verlengstuk van treasury. Just make all the internal audit department of all ministries as a department of CLAT. So you start getting two things, transparency and complete audit on what's going on in the budget. But if we cannot budget, if we cannot prepare a budget with KPIs, but we prepare a book of 900 pages stating what is the job of a ministry and what is the job of a department, we are very far away in terms of institutions.
Thank you.
Okay, of course, I have not been a minister, so I did not have a chance to do it. No, I know why I make this remark. No, so there are management systems that work. We just have to copy what the developing world is doing. So one is, if you don't add value, you don't get money. Because what is GDP? GDP is just an aggregation of all added values in the economy. So what is happening, what has happened in Venezuela, people would get money without working. So at the pump, gasoline would be cheaper than water. And the cars would get bigger because, I mean, even the very poor people could drive a big car. So these things are not working. So adding value. If you don't add value, you cannot get money because that doesn't work in any economy. So if the politicians are now proposing to give everybody 10,000 US dollars, it's nice. We can be happy. I could be happy. But I know in 30 years, I will be very unhappy. I will not be here around in 30 years, but my children and my grandchildren will be. So if we want to be short-sighted like that, we can do it. Because if you don't add value, that's the way economy works. GDP is an aggregation of value addition. You don't add value, it doesn't work. So that's one. Second one, a system has checks and balances. Administrative organization, lesson number one. You cannot check yourself. So if you do something, somebody else has to audit that. Bewaren, beschikken. These are the simple things that we learn in the first lesson in administrative organization. And these are systems. So if we think that we are Suriname and we don't need these systems because they're stupid and or we can do anything ourselves, you need to have checks and balances. The NIMOS is a separate organization. The president, I'm not saying this is happening, but the president cannot call NIMOS and say, you have to approve an environmental permit. That's why there are checks and balances. They have to decide by themselves whether they approve it. And we destroy the checks and balances because we all have these committees at the cabinet of the president. So these are some things that we have to work systematically. You have to add value. You want to start a business, go ahead. The government has to support it. Why are there tax incentives? Because we think that in the future, you will be able to do it without tax incentives. So we'll help you in the beginning. Or there is a lot of employment out of that project. That's systems. So if we don't want to work with systems, we do a little bit on a feeling. We are doing a social program in Suriname. I mean, this is terrible. So now we hear that 30% of the people in that social program are not eligible to get the money, but they do get it. People are complaining to me. They say, I make a lot of money. I still get the support from the government. So I mean, a simple thing like a social program to do the subject subsidy that works, not the object subsidy, we cannot do it. So we need a government that works through systems and checks and balances.
All right, thank you very much. Actually, the other question is for the two gentlemen, Mr. Egon and Mr. Brian. It's about, you've both tackled on, how serious the labor problem is and will be. Unfortunately, we haven't invited the Minister of Labor this time. However, if you were to be able to, come up with some piece of advice or suggestion on how to solve the conundrum of the labor market, what would that be?
I mean, I had a meeting with Steve around 2 weeks ago, and the point was very clear that we have to do something about the labor market. It's clear in my field, we're going to need hundreds and hundreds of people involved in the hospitality business. Well, they need to be educated, right? I mean, we can't take them cold and then just do them on-the-job training. What we're doing now, when you look at my little property at the moment, we have 43 people in culinary. All of them were dishwashers, and we made them chefs because we trained them on the job because we can get nothing local. So when I go, 2 weeks ago, I did a master class at the college. And I had 50 culinary students in front of me. I brought a very famous Peruvian chef to do a master class and show them that you can be awesome as an executive chef. And I had 50 people there. Then after the presentation, I talked to them a bit about the opportunities. You can live all over the world. You can make serious money. You are not a cook. You can be somebody special, particularly in culinary. Out of the 50 people, 2 people walked up to me and says, "Can I do an internship with you?" I said, "Done. Come tomorrow." None showed up. Right? So this is the issue. So I think it's an attitude problem to a very large extent. But it's also an educational process. We have to change the curriculum of the colleges. The colleges are not producing the kind of people that we need for the industry now. You cannot go and have a curriculum that is 20 years old. The industry has changed. So there's a lot of stuff, and I have to give Stephen a lot of credit. A couple of days later, he sent 3 or 4 people from the ministry. We talked about the seriousness, what needs to be done. So we actually have to educate them as well, because they don't really know how to approach it, right? I mean, to put an ad in the paper and saying, I need 50 cooks, means nothing. 5 people show up, right? So there is more that needs to be done, and we are now in dialogue with the ministry, and we are working with them very closely to go and establish programs now where we can actually develop the tourism sector in this country with local people. Because I'm forced now to go to Colombia and Venezuela and hire people from there to bring them here, and it bothers me that local people should have the job, and all of a sudden we bring all these foreign guys from Cuba. Everywhere we have people. I mean, come on. But I think in the context of the first question, I think Annand hit something very important, because he talked about Singapore. I use Singapore always as an example of a country. Leadership, integrity, honor, trust, no corruption, and look where Singapore is today. So why can't Suriname not be a small Singapore? And it all starts on the top, right? I mean, we can talk about, I hear all the time, private sector. Everything is the responsibility of the private sector. Yes, do we have a lot of responsibilities? We do. But I think that the public sector also has to rise up and not just talk, but deliver. We have multiple meetings with many ministers. In the end, we get a lot of talk, but we never get any action. And that's, I think, where a lot of the problems are.
Thank you very much, Egon.
Yes, yeah, I think that there should be really some solution regarding the education system. I'm very radical about thoughts about that. Let's ditch all the geographic and the historic classes. I mean, we can find that on the laptop or the computer. I think what the future of our labor force needs is communication, conflict management, presentation skills. These are the skills which we need to implement in our education system. Furthermore, I think we really need an agency who can do the match for the companies or the sectors which need specific labor, and go find those people, because they, like Egon just said, they just don't show up. So we really need to go get them, and I think that the government really needs to, and also in combination with, of course, public companies, they need to spearhead that.
Yes, it goes for both. Why they don't show up? And as Annand said, we don't have a social program in Suriname. We have a huge of social expenditures. Quoting the Minister of Finance, the social expenditures at this moment is higher than the salaries of the government, of the civil servants. So that gives an idea of what's going on. It is chaotic. I know people that gets an allowance from the several chaotic allowances that are being paid. And they are, how do you say, verzamelen, oprapen? Collecting about 14,000 to 15,000 SRD per month. So Egon, that's enough to live, so they won't come.
I have to pay more than 30,000.
So maybe an important thing to know is that the Ministry of Arbeid, Labor, is conducting a study. It's called Aligning the Labor Markets with the New Industries. Unfortunately, it's taking a heck of a long time. I heard that it costs $10 million US. So we should get a good study. But this is the thing that we need to do. Okay, but forget that 10 million. No, but this is the thing we need to do. I mean, we need to see where the country is going, and then we have to align. If it's your business, it's the hospitality, we have to align our labor markets with what will happen. And 7% of the Surinamese are HBO en hoger opgeleid. Hè? 7% only. Yes. Yeah.
I have to correct. Being the chair of the National Wage Council, I have something and I work on the Ministry of Labor. This is a project with the IDB. It's a loan of $1 million US, and the labor market survey is one small part of it. So the whole project is 10 million.
Exactly. But coincidentally, I know it's a program. It's actually like the same program as CITA's program. It's an IDB loan for 10 million, and it's taken antagonistically. It's verschrikkelijk langzaam, verschrikkelijk stroperig. I don't know, but we're not here to discuss that, but I understand that. But this is something that should have been executed already a long time ago, so fully agree with you there, Annand. Actually, what I wanted to do right now is actually open up the floor, because I know that the audience will have, questions. But, I'm gonna be very bold because I see, some people I want to pick on. Oh, here we go. Oh, that's my other mic. Let's see if I can. Are we still good? Yes. So I don't know. I'll probably start with somebody who's actually seen this firsthand in Guyana, who was in here. I hope you don't mind me picking on you, but would you like to, share what you see firsthand, from your point of view, and see what you've seen here? What could we do to get, better, to be in a better position? I know I'm, putting you on a spot here, but there you go.
All right, let me stand up. So, first of all, I'm here just in personal capacity. I'm Surinamese. I work in Guyana in the oil and gas sector. Been there for almost 4 years now. I think oil and gas came a little bit as a surprise in Guyana. And as you see, and I see a number of themes here as well. I mean, there's shortage in labor, lack of knowledge and all of that. I think in Suriname, we could be a bit ahead because I think we know what's coming, so we can already start to prepare. Go to Guyana and have a look. I think there's quite some lessons there to be learned on all kinds of different subjects, from indeed the labor market, industry, service sectors needed, and all of that. And I think if we really see what's going on there, we can take those lessons here and prepare for the best, hopefully.
That's actually a good point. Our CEO has recently signed an MOU with Guyana, so we're actually working on collaborating with the Go Invest and the Suriname Guyana Chamber, so to interchange and make sure that we indeed don't make the mistakes and learn from what they've been through. I know there's a lot of more people I want to pick on, but I'll be nice. I'd like to open the floor for some questions.
Thank you very much for this presentation and the panel. My name is Chris DeCosta. I represent a consulting firm in Suriname. I'm here with my colleagues, Jason. The question is what Egon and Mr. Sloote actually spoke about with a shortage of manpower. I think it's a serious issue with. We conduct a lot of job interviews. I've been here for 12 years now and done interviewing across for different companies. And one of the common things that I hear, in fact, it's one from today. It's a new person who's joined us. So what is it that you have as a career plan for yourself in the next 2 years or 4 years or 5 years? They don't firstly know. Second, 90% of people that I've questioned and interviewed say, I want to become an entrepreneur. In how many years? 2 to 5 years. So we have, in my opinion, from what I see, having spent these last 12 years, a lot of people have this idea of glorified entrepreneurship without really being prepared to be entrepreneurs. And I think what you need first is good employees in a country who later will probably convert into entrepreneurs. In order to do that, I think what you need is at the school and the college level to start involving the teachers into preparing career-based sessions so that they can be educated on what kind of career plans they can have by the time they are in Standard 7 or in Standard 8, which is according to the 10+2+3 system, which is different a bit in Suriname, they follow the Dutch system here. But still, people who are 15, 16 years old, we should be drilling or grilling them on what kind of career aspirations they have and what they can achieve. And then there is, I think, at the family level, with the parent level, where parental counseling is required, I think there could be some assistance there. So I'm not sure if the panel has any thought on what I just shared.
I mean, if you look at the Arabs, the United Arabs, 5 countries, they have like 500,000 people and 10 million expats and contractors. So what I'm saying, I think because of this wealth, you will have an influx. And of course, we can say people sit at home, but probably there is already a tension in the labor market. If you go to restaurants these days, Cubans are working there, and they're friendly and they're nice, and we like them. I mean, no offense to them, but I think we also will have to think about what policy we'll have as a country towards, the influx of people. And then, of course, the educational system has to be rechecked. I think the minister is trying something and doing his best, I guess. I don't know. I'm not an expert there. But aligning the labor market with what is coming, that's one. And then at a certain moment, so it's over. I mean, if there are 4,000 people and there are 6,000 jobs, 2,000 will come from abroad. And then we have to be ready to know what kind of policy we'll have towards influx of people. Because we are a very small country, so we are 650,000 people, but we're fairly divided. So if we get 150,000 of Brazilians, for instance, then it's over with the Surinamese identity. So we will have to think about that. Of course, we would welcome them and we should treat them well. But we will have to have firm policies. I don't know if this helps.
Dankjewel. We hebben nog een paar minuten, 10 minuutjes voor vragen. Zijn er nog vragen? Ik zie een hand omhoog. Twee.
Goedenavond, Edward Lee. Is de naam. Ik heb jullie allemaal horen praten over verschillende aspecten die waarschijnlijk missen in die samenleving. Om tot één verhaallijn te komen. En ik wil jullie even een voorbeeld geven wat ik laatstelijk heb meegemaakt met de SLM. Probeer jullie daarin de parallel te vinden met betrekking tot dit onderwerp. De SLM was een tijdje heel negatief in het nieuws. Jullie hebben allemaal gemerkt dat het afgelopen jaar een heel stuk minder is geworden. Wat heeft de SLM gedaan? Ze hebben de 10 meest gerenommeerde mediahuizen uitgenodigd. En ze hebben gevraagd om wat milder te zijn met het negatieve nieuws. Nee, dit is echt gebeurd. En de mediahuizen die ze uit hebben genodigd, zijn allemaal mediahuizen die een redelijke nationalistische inslag hebben. Dus ze hebben geholpen. Ik was vandaag bij de SLM en ik vraag aan de jongens, hoe is het gegaan? Ze zeggen, nou ja, God, het blijft een politiek spel, maar het is een heel stuk beter gegaan sinds we het hebben gedaan. Oké. Nu komt mijn stelling. Als dat gewerkt heeft, betekent het dat als een bedrijf als Staatsolie, even als voorbeeld door Annand, synchroniseert met de media, want de media bepaalt de verhaallijn, oftewel de narrative, dan krijg je een veel eenduidiger beeld dan wat er voorheen was. Even meenemend het voorbeeld van SLM. Als je naar Amerika kijkt, heb je of je hebt links of je hebt rechts. En zelf, de media is rechts, letterlijk geïnstitutionaliseerd, of links geïnstitutionaliseerd. Is misschien ook niet goed, maar het werkt wel. Ze hebben wel, als ze eenmaal een zittende regering hebben, dan wordt dat de mainstream. In Nederland zie je dat ook, in alle westerse landen zie je. Je zei net de Arabische Liga, dat is totalitair, maar het werkt. Dus wat ik eigenlijk wil stellen is, hoe kunnen de grotere bedrijven, of zeg maar de instituten die wel werken, op één lijn komen met de media? Want wat heb je in Suriname? Je hebt 99 verschillende richtingen. Je zegt het, we are very divided. Je geeft het zelf aan. En we praten altijd weer over hetzelfde. Iemand, een topman van de Rotary, heeft mij eens gezegd, weet je wat het probleem is in Suriname? We zijn allemaal salonrevolutionairen. Ik zeg, wat bedoel je daarmee? Hij zegt, nou kijk, we hebben allemaal de oplossing, maar we doen het allemaal in een kleine setting. En dan praten we erover, heel interessant. En dat blijft precies daar zitten. Dat gebeurt in de Rotary, het gebeurt bij de VSB, het gebeurt bij de ASFA. En we blijven hoppen. En dat gebeurt. En dus nogmaals, om tot een stukje verandering te komen, ik denk dat je die media echt moet meenemen. Want zij bepalen voor een groot deel de narrative, oftewel de verhaallijn. En dan komt de universiteit, de politiek, go on, go on, go on, en de instituten. Dus dat wil ik even meegeven. SLM heeft echt gewerkt, je kan het informeren.
Yes, thank you. Ik heb een vraag voor Annand. Omdat toevallig was het vandaag ook in het nieuws. En je hebt het ook even in je presentatie aangegeven dat er ongeveer 1,5 miljard opgebracht zal moeten worden. In het nieuws was het volgens mij 1,8. En ik zit me af te vragen, want in het nieuws is ook aangegeven hoe jullie daarmee willen inkomen. Maar je gaf ook in je presentatie aan dat je ook voorbereid moet zijn voor daling in de prijs, tegenvallers, etc. En dat kan ook een rol spelen. Dus je zal wel een plan A hebben en een plan B hebben. In hoeverre is dat zeg maar voorbereid om sowieso jullie 20% aandeel die er is te bestendigen? Dus dat is even een vraag. Heb ik ook wel een opmerking. Ik denk als je kijkt naar, en misschien gaat het een beetje cliché klinken, maar als we kijken naar Singapore, wat je hebt aangehaald, de basis van waar wij naartoe moeten gaan, zal naar mijn mening liggen in goed leiderschap. En dan wel in de private en public sector en zelfs bij onszelf thuis, toch? Wij moeten de leiders zijn om voor onszelf te kunnen zorgen dat onze kinderen een goede opleiding krijgen, dat ze goede waarden en normen meekrijgen. Maar sound leadership, als je kijkt in de wereld, in landen waar het goed gaat, staat leiderschap centraal. En ik denk dat daar iets is in te vullen voor Suriname als we dat willen doen. Waarvoor kiezen we? Kiezen we voor populaire mensen? Kiezen we voor echt leiderschap? En je hebt het ook gezegd in de laatste vraag, wat is het beste voor Suriname? En ik denk dat we daar het antwoord in moeten zoeken.
Hi Greg, thank you voor die opmerking. Want eigenlijk had ik gezegd, ik zou de schuld bij jullie leggen. Want kijk, hij zegt ook, we zijn salon warriors. Want we klagen wel, maar we bemoeien ons niet met de politiek. We laten het over aan bepaalde mensen en dan gaan we nog meer mopperen. Eigenlijk, hoe meer voedselpakketten ze uitdelen, hoe populairder ze worden. Maar ik weet niet of dat wel de policy is om ons land te redden. Dus thank you for that remark. Ja, die 20% van ons. Ja, kijk, we hebben met 25 banken gesproken in de wereld. Het is niet makkelijk en ik heb het ook gezegd in de pers hoor. In Europa kan je niet meer terecht voor olie en gas. We waren bij een van die banken, ze zeggen, kijk, die mensen plakken zich vast hier aan de vloer. En het is geen post-it note leem. Het is leem die je met chemicaliën. Dus die mensen zijn echt Extinction Rebellion. Dus we zijn nu meer naar het oosten een beetje en het Midden-Oosten. Er is overweldigende belangstelling. En ja, olie is cyclisch, dus ja, de prijs daalt, maar het is natuurlijk niet 1 jaar. Je kijkt over een langere periode. En de robuustheid van dat project is zodanig, de robustness, I'm forgetting the English people, is as such that this project can survive. And it's very interesting on the long run because it has upside. Like I said, in the project, it's like 3-4 years, a plateau production of 200,000 barrels, and then it would decline. But in real life, that plateau will stay a lot longer because we have already seen that there are possibilities for tiebacks. And that will, I mean, if you go to a 9-year plateau, it's like a crazy project. It's a no-brainer. And then for the Surinamese people and also the Dutch, I cannot say it for the Dutch, but we'll do a local bond like we've done before. We have 200 million sitting in the local market. And we'll try to get to a crazy high amount. And of course, we are also looking at diaspora. The problem is we cannot advertise in Holland because you have the Autoriteit Financiële Markten. You cannot ask people because then they have to judge your proposal and approve your proposal before you can market it to Dutch. But you can tell your friends because you can open an account in Suriname and you can participate in the bond. So this is the way we're looking. So either bank loans, the bond, and maybe some other options as well. But we're confident that this will happen.
Thank you very much, Annand. So actually, we zijn nu gekomen aan waar eigenlijk de meeste mensen volgens mij voor zitten. Want de echte Piers-mensen weten dat we heel veel van borrelen houden. We like to drink, like have our drink and socialize. So, having said that, I firstly want to thank my distinguished panel for your time and your dedication to be here and address the crowd. And I'd like to thank the Piers team. And most of all, I'd like to thank the audience that came in big numbers. So an applause for everybody of you. Thank you for coming. And I would like to say the bar is open.